All right, we're going to dive in. So welcome to today's presentation on the changing search and video landscape, co-presented by Harmelin Media and Google. I have two quick housekeeping items before we get started. The first is that we will be sharing out this deck, this recording after the presentation. And the second item is if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A feature in Teams. We will be following up with everyone directly after the presentation with detailed responses that are specific to your brand and your needs. So with that, I'd like to share today's agenda and introduce you to our presenters. So first, I'm Janine Cross, EVP of Activation here at Harmelin. I'll be covering the connected ecosystem. Next up, we'll have Amanda Feld, our Google agency lead, as well as Lawrence Donaldson, our VP of Search, dive into the future of search. We'll then look at building brand with Darren Pan, our video Google lead, as well as Eve Vitale, our VP of Programmatic. And then wrapping up our content on measurement, the competitive edge powering your AI, with Cameron Allison from Google, as well as Dan Delosier, our AVP of Digital Strategy. And Dan will be finishing up and rounding things out for us on next steps and key takeaways. So with that, we're going to dive in. So with the introduction of so many new conversational AI tools, there's many out there, we've really seen a permanent reset in consumers' expectations on how they search and discover. We've seen a shift from just basic short keywords into full-length conversations with AI. And the real interesting thing for the platforms, for marketers, is that we have more context than ever. Consumers are basically saying what they want, why they want it, what are they trying to decide. And so this is a fundamental shift in marketing today, right? We are getting more intent signals than we've ever had. And that shift is really not just a technology shift. It's shifting how we can think about intent, visibility, and that customer journey. So back in May, with some new announcements, Google said this is the biggest change to search in 25 years. And that's really why we have search on the call with us today, Google on the call with us today. It's because the main change is that everything now is foundationally backed by AI. From a consumer standpoint, that's AI mode becoming the default search experience. From an advertiser standpoint, it's that Gemini is really powering the Google Ads experience. And so what we're really seeing is that massive change in search behavior. Every single day, 15% of searches are brand new. We've never seen them before. And that's because the searches are getting so long, those very long descriptive queries. We're also seeing people search using images or voice. And so really that we went from keywords, but it's unpredictable what people are going to type, what they're going to query these days. And so it's fundamentally changed us from moving from a keyword-based strategy in search to intent-based signals. And so that ultimately connects the intent, AI, new signals in moving our marketing strategies from, hey, we're going to run search, or hey, we're going to run YouTube, into having to push into that overall connected ecosystem. So today we are going to talk about some specific tactical products that we can use within Google. And the reason we're going to talk about these products is because they're really foundational strategies on what we're going to build on. And so Google often calls these the Power Pack. They're all AI driven. The first you will definitely hear about today is demand gen, which is more about creating awareness and intent, leveraging more YouTube and visual signals within Google's ecosystem. There's Performance Max, PMax often called, which is driving those conversions across the entire ecosystem. And then we'll spend a good amount of time on AI Max. This one's a little bit different. This is not necessarily a campaign type, but it's really a feature within our traditional search strategies that allows us to expand coverage and really catch those missed queries, all those new queries we're seeing every day. So this will really be representing in our strategies as we move forward as leveraging this total connected ecosystem to drive consumers through the funnel. So one of the main themes you're going to hear from us today is test everything. You're going to hear us talk about testing and experimentation because ultimately that's how you're going to win in the age of AI. So it's about doing some tests that not every test will be successful, and that's perfectly okay. I'd say if every test we run, every test you run is always successful, you might be playing it too safe. We need those learnings to succeed. And so you're going to hear from us coming out of this presentation when we work with you directly on What's your next test? We might ask you to retest some products. One thing we've seen is in demand gen, our current activity looks so different from the test we did a number of years ago. That product has advanced so quickly with these new signals in AI. And so ultimately, coming out of these presentations today, we'll be talking to you directly about what is your best next test to learn quickly and ultimately set that foundation to prep us for the future. And so with that, we're going to dive into search with Amanda and Lawrence.
Thanks, Janine. I'm Amanda, and I will be starting off with search, which I think many of you know has been a recent hot topic in headlines. What's changing? Why? Why do we care about this? We'll hopefully answer all those questions today. So for over 25 years, Google's focused on and invested in improving search and the search of the future. Thanks to AI, that's evolved dramatically recently, and we're in a very honestly exciting time as a marketer at this very big inflection point. I remember when mobile was first coming out as a big shift, it felt like a big change at the time, but it was necessary and it paid off. And this is similar, but moving at an even faster rate. So we want to make sure that you guys not only understand the shift, but also what those implications are for your business. So when you first heard about LLMs, a lot of those noise was about search is dead, what's going to happen with search. We've actually found the opposite to be true. We see that AI is driving an expansion of search. With over 5 trillion, not often you get to say trillion on a call, but 5 trillion searches on Google annually. And then even at this scale, commercial queries are growing. What's changed though is the way that people are searching. Things like Lens, there's new AI-powered searches of AI overviews, AI mode that are reimagining search. And users are happier with the results, and they're asking longer, more complex queries, looking for specific answers to their questions. Traditional keywords can't keep up because we are changing our behavior. So therefore, we want to make sure we're changing our search strategies accordingly. Search has officially moved beyond information to intelligence, and it's also more personal and agentic. So for the intelligence, search isn't just matching keywords, it's matching true intent. And the results are personal, which makes them more helpful. And that's why we're excited that there is Gemini integrated into Google Search with personal intelligence. You can make search really feel like yours. A user can even connect it to their Google apps like Gmail, Calendar. So if they're asking for restaurant suggestions, it's not going to be a generic list. They know what they are looking for and can help them more specifically. And then you can see here, there's also different ways that the system is now making reservations or buying tickets. It's becoming more agentic. And these are all things that are meant to reduce friction and get the customers the answer that they're actually looking for, so they can go from discovery to decision-making faster. Search has become this place where you not only know what you want going into it, but you are figuring out what you want. 71% of shoppers are coming to Google search saying that they're open to trying new brands or products, and Gemini is that starting line and trying to help them find what they're looking for. And since the AI experience in search has people searching more often and earlier in their purchase journey, we are able to provide them more information that will help them make their decisions. So we're seeing a growth in queries like where should I, which, ideas for, more brainstorming terms. And they have grown 30% faster overall since the launch of things like AI overviews and AI mode, which we'll get to. And we're also seeing people searching less for topics like pizza near me. And instead, they're searching for what can I serve a group of 15 people, kids and adults, that can get here in less than an hour that's not super unhealthy. I know I'm definitely guilty of rambling into my phone searches on voice to search, because it's not just I want pizza near me, but the understanding that I also want it for this many people, this location, here's what I'm looking for if you have any other suggestions that you think fit. Our Gemini models understand that untapped demand, and they can analyze just a simple search for what you're truly looking for. So if someone's looking for how to fix cracked patio tiles, it might seem informational, but search can then identify the commercial intent and show them, here's an ad for a tile sealant, and here's a local tiler with great rates. Or like, why is my dog chewing on my couch? Well, here's some dog toys that maybe you want them to chew instead. Or here's a local veterinarian that can get them checked if there are other issues. So they understand the intent behind the words, which is why simple keywords are no longer following what people are really looking for. So with all these evolving search formats, one thing is clear: your brand doesn't just show up, it answers questions. And that's why people are interested, and you need AI to be ready. Janine had mentioned earlier the Power Pack, which we'll see here. It's a lot of AI-powered tools that Google is using. AI Max for search campaigns and PMax are two that are unlocking billions of net new queries. And they're really, again, helping you find helping your audience find not only your brand, but why your brand answers their question. And when the advertisers adopt AI Max or PMax, where Performance Max is called PMax, we see an average of 15% more conversions or conversion value at a similar CPA or ROAS. And then on the right, you'll see recently announced AI briefs. This is great because this can help you give control over how your brand shows up. It's kind of like giving a brief to a media or creative agency. You share insights about your campaign, what you want to convey, who you want to reach, any guardrails or rules or things like that, all in conversational language. This is key. You can talk like a person and not a robot and give over that information that you're looking to convey about your brand. So as you saw on the previous slide, AI Max for search campaigns is the newest member of the Power Pack, which is specifically for search. AI Max learns from your landing pages, your ads, even your existing keyword lists to help infer what you sell or what you provide and when it's relevant to show your ad. The two main features, search term matching and asset optimization, will leverage Google AI to optimize your ads in real time and tailor your creative message to reach your customers and drive more value. And we'll show you an example of this soon. But as Janine mentioned, this is not a new campaign type. This is not a new system you have to learn. This is a one-click enhancement to your existing search, literally one click. And it will help you understand how you can prepare yourselves for the evolving search experiences of tomorrow. So broad match and smart bidding got us far, but keyword list targeting in AI Max is going to take us to a whole new level. And we see advertisers already doing this, and those who do can achieve 27% on average more conversions at that similar ROAS compared to just exact and phrase match. So some of the things you might have heard about are AI overviews and AI mode. Those are two new user-facing. So as you're searching, you've probably come up with this. Search-powered environments that are now AI-powered. So AI overviews is the first one. This brings the helpfulness of AI into the main search experience. And it's honestly one of the most successful launches in search in the past decade. It has over 1.5 billion users in more than 200 countries and territories every month. So this brings Google search, generative AI together to more people. And we're finding that people are more satisfied with the answers because, as you can see here, they're asking you types of questions, they're able to go deeper and showing more links to a wider range of sources on that results page because we're able to see what is their intent behind what they're asking and then how can we best serve to them. We're also finding that users are then more likely to spend time on your site because they see the relevance. The second one is AI mode. So this is a reimagining of search, taking, again, advantage of the Gemini Google AI capabilities, and it's expanding on what AI overreach can do, but with more advanced reasoning and multimodal capabilities to help even with the toughest questions. So people are using this for more exploratory and open-ended questions with complicated tasks. So if you're looking to compare two products or explain a how-to or planning a trip, we're finding that early testers of AI mode were asking much longer queries, 2 to 3 times the length of traditional searches. And AI mode has been fully rolled out to everybody in the United States. So the way to opt into something like this and make sure that you are showing up when relevant in AI overviews and AI mode is with AI-powered advertising solutions like PMax and also AI Max. As you mentioned earlier, AI Max is not a new campaign type. Here's a screenshot of the toggle in the system, and it will help ensure that you are reaching more users against those different types of queries. We want to make sure that you are not missing out on potential customers by not showing up here. And what that means is in a world where 15% of daily searches are entirely new, like Janine had mentioned, people are asking questions that are 3 times longer than they used to. So the current keyword lists are likely to miss a massive slice of the pie. So if we're not eligible for things outside of our keyword list, we're not going to be reaching those people. We're finding that user searches are growing 8% year over year, and that's probably an outdated stat, even though it's very recent, because things continue to grow, and they make up half of all searches. So if you have something in this example of best savings account, like you used to be a robot, now people are asking questions more naturally. So it'll be something here, high yield savings account, here's the emergency fund, the numbers, the fees, everything they're interested in, and you can give them a much more specific answer based on your offerings. So like we said, people are growing to expect more personal results. So here's some examples. This slide shows the 3 different aspects of AI Max for search campaigns. They allow your ads to match the customer intent. They can reach a user looking for information you provide, even if you don't have those keywords in there that matches exactly what they're looking for. For example, here in the middle, you'll see someone searches skincare for dry, sensitive skin. If your ad shows, show our skin and hair care line, get ready to turn heads, that is relevant. But in the day and age where people are used to exact relevancy and basically screaming in their face, I work for you, come check out my brand, it's a lot more powerful to say, soothe your dry, sensitive skin, start owning your glow today. That directly calls back to what the keyword was. And then from the URL perspective, you can drive directly to the portion of your site that focuses on dry, sensitive skin. So you're not hoping that the user navigates from the main page to find it. Pretty cool, right? So I do want to say before I pass it over to Lawrence, just a nod for those of you who work in some sensitive verticals. At the heart of AI-powered performance, there are control and safeguards in place. So rest assured, you are able to utilize the things that are being mentioned. The Harmelin Google teams can, of course, go into specifics with you on your account and what you want to do, but there are different things in place for those of you who have specific things you want to make sure are incorporated. And now I'll pass it off to Lawrence.
Thanks, Amanda. So we've spent some time talking about the changes happening across Google search, and the big takeaway is the search ecosystem is now moving at the speed of AI. What's important isn't just that Google is changing, but consumer behavior is changing as well. People are becoming more comfortable asking longer and more complex questions, and many times they're not even typing in their keyboard. They're speaking to AI the same way humans speak to each other. They're exploring options differently, researching differently, making decisions differently than they even did just a year ago. The challenge is that waiting for established best practices is no longer a viable strategy. By the time a tactic becomes the industry standard, you lose a competitive advantage, and that's already been captured by the early adopters. We're already seeing with AI overviews, Google Lens, and AI Mode, the reshaping of how consumers discover brands, evaluate options, and ultimately make their decisions. So our perspective is pretty simple. Success in the AI era, I should say, won't come from reacting to change after it happens, but it will become from actively participating in the change as it's happening. The brands that learn first will win first, and every test generates insights. Every insight improves performance, and over time, those learnings compound into a significant competitive advantage. It isn't about chasing every new feature, but it is about building a culture of experimentation so your organization can evolve alongside the platforms your customer uses. Now, as we look further ahead, the future belongs to organizations that build adaptability into their marketing programs. Historically, many marketers would focus on campaign optimizations, improving click-through rates, lowering CPCs, or adjusting our keywords. Now, those metrics still do matter, but the bigger opportunity lies within business optimization. And what that means is that using AI, data, measurement, and experimentation to drive meaningful business outcomes, not just focusing on marketing outcomes. And there are 5 key areas we believe will define success in the long term. First, build a first-party data advantage. As AI becomes more powerful, proprietary customer data becomes one of the few true competitive differentiators. That means leveraging your first-party data to understand your audience, their personas, where they are in their journey, and how to best interact and where to reach them. Second, measure your business outcomes instead of just platform metrics. Focus on things like profitability, consumer acquisition quality, lifetime value, as well as incremental growth. Drive success by optimizing beyond media metrics towards your business goals. Third, make continuous experimentation a core marketing capability. Testing should become part of your operational rhythm, and it will give you early learnings and allow you to find what works best for your organization so you can scale accordingly. Fourth, recognize that search is no longer in a silo. Search now exists across paid, organic, as well as AI-generated experiences. And brands need to think about the entire search ecosystem, not just their paid search campaigns. And ultimately, the future of search isn't about chasing or really choosing between traditional search and AI, but it's about building a marketing strategy designed for an AI-powered world, one that captures demand where it's expressed, while also influencing decisions before consumers even begin searching. That's the mindset shift, and the path we believe will separate the market leaders from market followers in the years to come. Okay, so here's where Harmelin becomes prescriptive. So the natural question becomes, what should brands be doing right now? The good news is that preparing for the future of search doesn't require a complete revamping of your search program. It just starts with a few foundational actions. Harmelin doesn't want to simply observe the changes. We want to work with you to build roadmaps that help you capitalize on them. Not every organization is at the same stage of AI adoption either. Our first step is assessing where each client is today so we can identify the barriers, capabilities, and opportunity towards adopting AI-powered strategies and solutions, and prioritize the most impactful opportunities moving forward before scaling those AI-driven initiatives. We also want to ensure that we're leveraging your available AEO or AI, organic and paid search signals, such importance or information coming through your call centers, your web analytics platforms, SEO console, for instance, as well as understanding your AI tracking and reporting tools or capabilities. That will be an important part of this assessment. We'll recommend testing opportunities, including AI Max, conversational search strategies, and other emerging Google capabilities, where they're appropriate. Establish clear test and learn frameworks with success criteria and measure outcomes before scaling your investment. We'll help clients strengthen measurement by activating against their first-party data from platforms like GA4 or Adobe Analytics and via your CRM systems, including qualified leads, appointments, even your physical location-specific data, and call center signals if they're applicable. For healthcare, banking, and other sensitive verticals, adoption may look differently, but there's still meaningful opportunities to leverage AI responsibly within compliance requirements and platform controls. After all, AI adoption should always be balanced with compliance requirements, your brand safety standards, and utilization of safeguards and controls that were mentioned by Amanda on previous slides. And since trust and authority in sensitive verticals matter so much for consumer decision-making, we want to help you build trusted content, authority building, and early visibility, expanding beyond demand capture into demand creation, which can become powerful competitive advantages. And we don't expect every client to be at the same stage of maturity, but our role is to assess where you are today, identify those barriers, and create a plan of progress so you can continuously move forward at a pace that makes sense for your business. Because at the end of the day, progress is always going to matter. And with that, I'll pass it over to Darren.
Cool. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you so much, Amanda. So the next section, we're going to talk about building demand across the Google ecosystem. So just wanted to iterate that as AI changes how people search, advertisers can't rely solely on capturing existing demand. They also need to create it. So we spent the last several minutes talking about how AI is changing search and helping advertisers capture demand more effectively through solutions like AI Max. But as search evolves, it's also becoming clear that advertisers can't rely solely on capturing existing demand. They need to generate and create this demand continuously, right? You're eventually going to tap out of that well if you keep getting water from the same well. As consumers ask more about exploratory questions, to discover products through AI, and move fluidly between search, YouTube, Maps, and other Google surfaces, the opportunity is no longer just to respond to someone when they're ready to buy. It's to influence them much earlier in their journey. That's where Google's campaign ecosystem comes together. Search with AI Max helps you capture high intent demand. Performance Max helps you scale that demand across Google's properties. And Demand Gen and YouTube help create future demand by reaching consumers before they're actively searching. So Demand Gen is Google's AI-powered demand creation campaign. It uses audience and intent signals to reach consumers across YouTube, Shorts, Discover, Gmail, and other Google properties before they've expressed high intent through search. We've talked about how AI is changing search, and basically we want to make sure that we're hitting the user journey before they are actively looking for your particular brand or product or service, right? So to unlock the biggest opportunity to influence consumers before search is to utilize what Demand Gen does. It reaches people during these specific moments of discovery, when they're watching content and exploring interests. And there's also no better place to do that than YouTube, which combines the largest audience with the highest engagement. Today's discovery will become tomorrow's search. Creating demand is only valuable if it ultimately translates into business results, right? And that's exactly what we're seeing. One of the biggest misconceptions in digital marketing is that investing in the upper funnel activity comes at the expense of performance. In reality, it's often the opposite. When brands create demand earlier in the customer journey, they aren't just generating awareness, they're making every downstream marketing investment work harder. Consumers are more likely to recognize your brand, trust it, and ultimately convert later through search, performance max, and other lower funnel campaigns. Google's research found that brands investing in demand gen generated 86% higher incremental long-term ROAS. The important takeaway here isn't necessarily the comparison to paid social. It's that investing earlier in the consumer journey creates measurable value that continues well beyond the initial impression. So in other words, demand creation isn't just an awareness tactic, it's a growth strategy. One of the biggest questions we hear all the time at Google, I'm sure from Harmelin as well too, is whether demand gen is simply just taking credit for conversions that would have happened through search anyway. The data suggests that's not the case. One of the key advantages of demand gen is that it reaches consumers across multiple moments of discovery, not just within not just within search. Whether they're watching shorts, browsing YouTube, exploring Discover, checking Gmail, and using Maps, demand gen introduces your brand before they've expressed interest. Take a look at your personal daily habits. I'm sure you guys are using a Google owned and operated property in your daily life, whether you like it or not. Everyone is on Google and or YouTube. That broader reach translates into incremental growth. So on average, 68% of demand gen conversions came from users who had not seen the brand's ads on Google search in the previous 30 days. So that tells us that these campaigns are reaching consumers who otherwise may have never even entered your funnel in the first place. Rather than competing with search, demand gen expands the pool of future customers, introduces your brand while consumers are still exploring their options. So when they're eventually ready to search, they're more likely to search for your brand instead of a competitor. So we've established that demand gen isn't simply redistributing search conversions, it expands your pool of future customers and will increase the lifetime value for customers in the long run as well. So the next question is why? I'm going to pass it over to Eve to break this down and share a little bit of the Harmelin POV.
Thanks, Darren. So throughout this so far, you've heard a lot about how AI has changed Google products. I imagine the next question that many of you are probably asking yourselves right now is, what does that actually mean for advertisers? What types of things should we be doing differently moving forward? So at Harmelin, we don't see these as isolated product updates or changes. We actually see them as a shift in how media should be planned. And that thinking has led us to develop these 3 key planning principles moving forward. So the first is to think beyond channel silos. We really want to start with the business objective and then determine the role of each Google product and how that should be playing into achieving that objective as well. Second is connect demand creation with demand capture. The strongest Google strategies that we've seen thus far, they don't separate brand and performance, they actually connect them. And then finally, match creative to the objective. So as AI automates more of the actual media buying and optimization, creative strategy becomes one of the biggest opportunities to differentiate yourselves as a brand. So on the coming slides, we'll dig into each of these principles and show what that looks like in practice. So our first principle is thinking beyond channel silos. And I really feel that YouTube is probably the best example of why we feel that way. So a few years ago, it made sense to think of YouTube as simply just a video channel. Search was search, YouTube was YouTube. They were planned separately because that's how they were built. But as we've learned, these products have evolved significantly. So today, YouTube has really become one of those connections and connectors across all of the Google advertising ecosystem. It does a ton of different things. It extends the reach of TV. It fuels the discovery of creators and shorts. It influences what people are searching. And it also strengthens the products that Darren was just talking about, like Demand Gen as well as Performance Max. And that means that YouTube can look very different and play very different roles depending on what you're looking to accomplish. Sometimes that could be just introducing your brand to new audiences, and other times it can mean using it to increase branded searches or accelerate that consideration. I think the biggest takeaway here is that we don't define YouTube's role by the channel. We actually define it by the business objective that it's looking to achieve. And then once we've defined the role of each product, the next question becomes, how should those investments work together? And that is exactly what our second principle is all about. So it's about the idea of connecting demand creation with demand capture. And for years, marketers had always treated brand and performance as totally different strategies. Brand would build the awareness, search would capture the demand. They oftentimes had different budgets, different KPIs, and different teams working in silos on them. But we've come to understand that consumers are not making decisions that way anymore. Someone might discover your brand on YouTube first, and then they might a couple days later search for it and then ultimately convert when the timing is right for them. But that journey and all of those touch points are connected. So that's why we think it's really important to just think about it simply that search captures today's demand, and then YouTube creates tomorrow's demand, and sustainable growth requires both. So if we're only investing in demand capture, if we're only investing in search, we're going to be competing against those same high intent customers that everyone else is chasing. So over time, that acquisition is going to look a lot more expensive. Growth will slow, and we're not creating the next wave of customers to kind of fill your pool. So that's why here at Harmelin, we propose building one integrated Google strategy, and that means connecting planning, creative, optimization, and measurement, all focused and centered around the same business objective. And our ultimate goal is really not to optimize these individual campaigns. It's really how to optimize how every single Google investment is working together to ultimately drive business growth. And then our last pillar here, or principle, just the fact that as AI continues to automate more of this buying, creative strategy is really becoming even more important. Every single day, Google's learning a lot more about you. They're, finding the right audience and getting really great at optimizing those campaigns. So that means that our biggest opportunity to differentiate isn't just about who you're reaching, it's what people are experiencing when they are reached. So that's why we align creative with objective, using the right mix of like brand assets, creator content, and AI-powered creative tools. We also want to consider the environment in which someone's consuming content, as well as the mindset that they might be in. The creative that might work for a shorts campaign isn't necessarily going to be the same as the creative that might work best in a lean back, like premium long form environment. If you joined our last webinar at the influencer webinar, you heard us talk a lot about the power of authentic creator content. That's another area where we've seen the biggest opportunity is we're seeing that creator content getting a second life and being repurposed across YouTube and demand gen as paid creative. And at Harmelin, we really ultimately are trying to help our clients maximize the value of every creative asset by aligning the right message to the right objective, audience, and environment. And at the end of the day, AI can only do so much to deliver, optimize the delivery, but it's really the creative that will stand out and drive the results. And then as a final leave behind, just the concept of every Google product has a job, and our role as your agency is to make sure that all of these different products are working together towards the same business objective. If the strategy is connected, the measurement has to be connected as well. So instead of asking how individual campaigns are performing, we want everyone to start asking, how did they work together to drive business growth? And that is exactly what Cameron and Dan will be covering in the next section.
Thanks, Eve and Darren. So in this final section, it's all about strengthening your data signals. If we pop to the next slide, you can think of these signals as the fuel for everything we've built so far. In this ever-changing landscape, your data is your ultimate competitive advantage. By refining the signals you send to Google's AI, we aren't just chasing clicks, we're future-proofing your business to drive better results that actually scale your bottom line. This slide simplifies our strategy into a basic equation. Data strength equals ROI. The stronger the data we input, the more value you get out of Google's AI. For home services, this means driving the highest quality leads possible, for example, navigating spam to find users who are most likely not just to convert, but to become a customer at the end of the funnel. To reach that peak performance, we focus on 4 simple pillars to turn your data into a growth engine. The first is connect. So we unify your data sources through the Google Tag and Data Manager, which ensures we capture every interaction from your website to your CRM in one central place. The second is maximizing your signals. Here, we sharpen AI's focus using additional first-party data signals, such as enhanced conversions, which provides the system with a complete picture of the customer journey, so it bids with greater accuracy. Next, it's all about activating on that data. We put that data into motion by leveraging things like customer match, data-driven attribution, and smart bidding, which allows us to ensure your budget is automatically chasing your highest value prospects, all in real time. And then lastly, this is really where we prove the return with modern measurement. We use the measurement trifecta and experiments to prove the direct ROI increase that comes from building a stronger data foundation. Essentially, we're moving beyond just tracking data to actively powering growth through a rock-solid infrastructure. To see all of this performance clearly, it's important that we all focus on measurement. It's the competitive edge that truly will power everything that we do with AI, especially in all of the examples that we just mentioned as we think about search, as well as upper funnel through things like YouTube and demand gen. So first, let's talk about the foundation, which is all about data strength. By integrating your valuable first-party data directly into your campaigns, you feed the AI stronger signals, which translates directly to immediate revenue gains and much better long-term performance. On average, 26%, we've seen a 26% increase in incremental return from advertisers who have actually leaned into building their data strength. It's the single most impactful lever that you can pull right now. Second is causality. We want to help you confidently answer, did my ad actually cause this customer to take an action? To do that, we're giving you two powerful new signals that solve both the short-term and the long-term measurement gap. The first is attributed brand searches, or ABS. This is now available to everyone, and it's your direct link between a customer seeing your ad and immediately searching for your brand within the first week. It's the clearest, fastest signal that your creative successfully built brand intent. The second is qualified future conversions. While ABS tracks the first week, we also need to measure the long-term impact. That's why we're introducing QFC. This metric connects early signals like follow-up branded searches, video views, or site visits to future sales up to 6 months in advance. This completely changes the conversation you possibly have with your executive teams. Instead of defending your immediate 30-day spend, you can actually prove its long-term lifetime value. And finally, we have the unified view. Short-term and long-term signals are great, but they can't live in silos. They need to talk to each other to give you a single clear picture. That's where things like Meridian, our next generation open source marketing mix model, comes into play. The more data and signals you feed into it, the smarter and more accurate your attribution becomes. And for those of you who want a powerful turnkey solution, we're bringing the intelligence of Meridian directly into a reimagined Google Analytics. Along this journey, I also wanted to provide just a quick refresher on a few key definitions and tools that we have at our disposal. The first is enhanced conversions for web, which is a conversion tracking feature which supplements your existing website conversion tags. When cookies aren't available, it sends hashed first-party conversion data from your website to Google in a privacy-safe way. The second is Google Tag Gateway. This is a first-party infrastructure tool that acts as a bridge between your website and Google by enabling tagging scripts directly from your own servers. And last is enhanced conversions for leads. This is an upgraded version of standard offline conversion import that allows advertisers to connect their internal source of truth to Google Ads to track offline sales data. Now that we've talked about the data solutions that allow us to measure business impact, how can we actually use this data to help you achieve your objectives? Remember, having this data infrastructure is meaningless if we don't put it to use. And that's really where PDM comes in. PDM, or profit-driven marketing, is about shifting marketing from a cost center to a profit center. It shifts the emphasis from traditional metrics like clicks, impressions, and leads, and instead prioritizes the actual profit generated for the business. Think of PDM as the framework to leverage the data you've worked so hard to integrate into your ads account to help. Instead of anchoring our work around driving conversions or leads, let's shift our focus to what really drives the business forward: revenue-generating customers. This, of course, also helps maximize profit from your marketing investment using the best of Google Ads products. So I wanted to provide an example of what PDM could look like. So this is just a hypothetical for what could be an HVAC company. So this company in this example cares about generating revenue at a 4x return on ad spend. This is a typical lead to sale journey for that HVAC company, and this is how they can put PDM to work. First is measurement. By setting up enhanced conversions for web and Google Tag Gateway, the advertiser now has full visibility into every user who calls or fills out a form. By setting up enhanced conversions for leads, this advertiser now accurately tracks 2 offline lead stages appointment scheduled, and job complete. Then with PDM, by leveraging the profit-driven marketing framework, this advertiser can shift their focus from generating calls and form submissions in stage 1 to what they actually care about, which is generating revenue at a 4x return. How do we do this? We feed the system appointment schedule and customer data and tell it to learn on those signals. Again, Google's AI is only as good as the data that we feed it. If we tell the bidding algorithm to find leads, it'll do that, but they might not always become customers. If we instead feed the system very qualified appointment schedules of customers and tell it to find more folks who look like that, we'll increase our lead quality, improve our efficiency, and have a significantly better chance at achieving that 4x return. By aligning our bid optimization with the actions that drive business outcomes, we can begin to see this marketing funnel as a profit generator. So you might be wondering now, how does this all come together? And this slide shows a very high-level depiction of our PDM flywheel. First, we develop a strong understanding of your business goals by mapping each business's unique lead to sale journey. Second, we strengthen our data signals and track the most meaningful through enhanced conversions for web, Google Tag Gateway, and EC for leads. Third, we capture profitable demand with smart bidding, AI Max, and PMax. And lastly, we generate our own demand through upper funnel awareness and mid-funnel consideration through activations like YouTube and Demand Gen. As we continue to build on this and think about the measurement trifecta, this is Google's framework for media measurement. The concept derives from the fact that 3 measurement pillars all have strengths and opportunity areas, and no one tool has all the answers. Therefore, we recommend that advertisers consider using a combined approach so each tool complements one another as they triangulate your true media performance. While Google offers first-party solutions for each of these pillars, we're seeing an increase in out-of-Google providers within each as well. So given the need for modern measurement and the plethora of first-party and third-party options, Google is in support of advertiser choice of modern measurement tools. Attribution is triangulation. It helps ensure that your customer's full journey to purchase is observed and credited. Many customers have 3 to 5 sources of truth. Given that there is no perfect solution, the complexity in media measurement now requires more than one view for a better view of overall performance. We also completely understand that if you're in a sensitive vertical, we know your reality. You can't just drop a pixel, match a CRM list, and trace every single patient or bank account back to a specific ad click. Because there is no single source of truth, you have to triangulate. As we think about attribution, you can focus on privacy-safe proxy signals, such as find a doctor, branded searches, key page actions. As we think about incrementality, we can run things like geo-testing, brand lift studies, and match market tests that do not require individual user-level tracking or CRM matching. And lastly, as we think about an MMM, we can use aggregate and historical spend data to really paint that complete picture. And lastly, I'll say what you're seeing on the screen here is just an example of the things that may have been prohibited as we think about sensitive verticals, but also the opportunity areas that we can lean into to continue to navigate in a privacy-centric way. Harmelin was also selected for Google's Media Effectiveness Program, which is an agency-exclusive program offered to less than 10% of agencies in North America. And Harmelin was chosen not only because of their strong partnership with Google and their understanding of Google Media, but also because of their keen interest in their clients' business goals. They really care to understand performance for their clients beyond just simple attribution, and that's truly admirable. What they've unlocked are tools and optimization levers that make their agency and its advertisers highly competitive in a chaotic market. I'll now pass it over to Dan to tell you more about how this correlates with Harmelin's measurement approach.
All right, thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it. So I don't know about you, but I think we've got it all figured out, right? Cameron showed us everything we need, and everyone's good to go. But I think we can all admit that that's a lot. There's a lot of ways to measure success. There's a lot of ways to look at the success of your media dollars. And at Harmelin, we very clearly understand that not everyone is ready to jump right into that full suite of measurement tools. We know that there's kind of a crawl, walk, run, and different clients are at different stages of their measurement journey. So it's our job here at Harmelin to recognize and help guide you into some of these more advanced measurement opportunities. So we fully recognize as well that as the media landscape is changing, our measurement landscape needs to evolve with it. And we've really embraced kind of a 3 reporting view take on measurement. And that's a focus on business, marketing, and media as our key pillars as it relates to reporting and measurement. And along with all of these great tools that Google has, Google is really helping us strengthen the data signals going into our measurement approach to really plus up the reporting that we do on our clients' behalf. We understand that reports are great and reports deliver information, but you really need to approach it more deeply and think about it as true measurement. What do the numbers on those reports really mean? What's the so what? What does it mean for your business? And our job is to really connect those dots for you and ultimately deliver real world returns and not just say that Google or one of your other vendors did a great job for you from a media perspective. So to take a bit of a deeper view into the Harmelin reporting ecosystem, I alluded to these three pillars. The first being business reporting. If we are ingesting your first party business data, then we are going to produce reports for you that look at things like sales and revenue, likely in a dashboard format. It's going to show how your business is operating and if you're seeing gains or losses. This is the one pillar that Google isn't directly fueling because we are ingesting your data directly into our data stores. Where Google really does lean in and help us is in the other two pillars, the first being marketing and reporting. And we think of these as key marketing signals that sort of act as proxies for business success. We understand that not all of our clients have the means or the data sharing capabilities to give us their first party business data. So sometimes we need to identify a proxy that says, hey, if X happens, it's likely going to result in Y. And that Y hopefully is a gain in a key business metric. So Google helps fuel those marketing signals by things like attributed brand searches. When you run a YouTube ad, did it result in a brand search on Google? Google query data, which allows us to see if we have a big new OTT push in market, did we see an overarching lift in your brand searches across both paid and organic? And then things like search lift studies, actual studies that go out and ask consumers, what impact did these ads have on your business? And then you get down to media reporting, which is the most common and probably the report that people are most familiar with. Did our ads actually resonate with consumers? It's going to report out on things like impressions, clicks, conversions, or leads. And that's being fueled by all these great tools that Cameron mentioned earlier: Google Tag Gateway, enhanced conversions for web and leads, the profit signals, qualified future conversions. These are all things that help influence that media reporting and strengthen the signals that we have to report out on. And finally, as we think about these reports, we look at them in two distinct ways. First is vertical. What is happening in any one of those sets? Is the revenue for your business going up or down? Are we seeing an increase in brand searches, or are brand searches declining? Are we seeing your CPA go up or down? These are very vertical signals and really prescriptive of what's happening within each of those different reporting buckets. But where it gets really important is that horizontal analysis that we do. Though what happened in one category, how did that affect something in another category? By CPA going down, did it impact something in the marketing signals? And is there a correlation between a marketing signal back to your business results? That's the key that we really lean into and want to look at, what are these key business insights that can move your business in the right direction? And again, these are all powered by a lot of what Google has to offer in these great tool sets that Cameron just walked you through. Looking at things like incrementality, multi-touch attribution, and MMM. These are the types of deeper analyses that are going to take your business to the next level. So in conclusion, we just obviously talked through a lot of great information across the search landscape, looking at things like demand gen and measurement. What are the key takeaways that we want to lean in on? We think there's four that if you're going to take anything away from this presentation, that you really focus on these. First being, search is becoming a conversation. It's no longer just keyword based. It's about conversations. It's about intent. And AI is really using all of these new longer tail signals to determine what someone is really interested in, and it's powering everything within that Google ecosystem. Second is the fact that Google is truly an ecosystem. You can't really think of Google as just Google search or just YouTube. It's really a connected ecosystem with multiple touch points and products that really work together throughout the funnel to drive key business outcomes. So instead of approaching budgeting or approaching your media plan just through the silo of like, I'm going to run search or I'm going to run YouTube, let's think about it more holistically as a true ecosystem play and how all those parts can work together. The third one, and this may actually be the most important, is that testing is non-negotiable. Janine said it earlier, and I think it rings true across this entire presentation. If you're not already live on parts of that Google Power Pack, now is the time to test in, whether it's AI Max, PMax, Demand Gen. These are things that you need to be working your way into to get ahead of the future state that's coming beyond where we are even today. You know, it was said earlier, just because you tried something earlier doesn't mean you're going to get the same results. We've seen these products evolve, and it's important to continue testing, continue trying new combinations of elements within the Power Pack and see what works best together for your business. And then finally, it's all about feeding the algorithm. You know, leverage those really important first-party data signals via both online and offline conversion data. That's going to help strengthen your algorithm, and ultimately, it's going to drive better results for your business. You know, think about somebody that fills out a lead form online. You know, we don't know if that lead turned into anything. Leads are powerful, but if we know that that lead actually turned into a sale or some other important key business metric on the back end, and then we can feed that end result back to the algorithm, that makes that initial lead that much stronger. So the more you can feed that algorithm, the better results you're ultimately going to produce. So what does this all mean, and what's going to happen next coming out of this presentation? So I think first and foremost is setting up time with your Harmelin team and your Google team in a collaborative meeting environment. Your Harmelin team is going to work to schedule these collaborative meetings between your client team, Harmelin, and Google, with the hope of helping you better understand some of these Google Power Pack offerings. You know, we reviewed them, but what do they really mean and how do they work best for your specific business? We want to discuss testing opportunities. You know, where are there opportunities to gain some immediate traction that, you know, wouldn't be a huge lift to get off the ground? And then ultimately, we want to position your brand for success as the Google ecosystem continues to evolve. The changes that we've seen recently are just the beginning. There's going to be more. And if we had this presentation again next year, you'll probably hear an entirely new set of information. Next would be strengthening both paid and organic keywords. We talked about how people are using search in a different way. They're having a much longer, more robust conversation with the search engines and not just searching very robotically. So through that lens, Harmelin will be working to add more conversational keywords to your existing paid keyword set. And as a reminder, our exceptional SEO team also has offerings to help strengthen your organic keywords for this new AI first world as well, because these longer conversations don't just affect the paid world, they affect your organic results as well. And then finally, we'd like to have, you know, these tough conversations around really reconsidering measurement and what that means for your business. We're looking for opportunities to engage in deeper conversations with our clients about strengthening measurement for your brand, feeding the algorithm with that valuable first-party data, and ensuring the measurement structure that we have ties media results directly back to business outcomes, either with that clear business data that we're ingesting or via mutually agreed upon proxies that we feel strongly really tie back to that end business result. So stay tuned for more conversations on that front. But yeah, these are all really important next steps that you should be hearing more from us on in the near future. And with that, I'm going to hand it to Janine to wrap things up.
All right. And thank you to all our presenters. We're going to be following up with this presentation with the recording, the deck, as well as a feedback survey. Would love some feedback on this, as well as any other questions and more you'd like to learn. So with that, I'd like to thank all of our presenters and thank you for joining.